I do think that women tend to be the more selfish and ungrateful sex. I can say that for sure. I just did a community post where I asked men, hey, what was the nicest thing a woman did for you? She can't be family. And some of the stories they were putting out there, I'm like, ladies, we need to do better.
Yeah.
Women, if you're watching this and you haven't done something nice for your husband for a hot minute, I'm gonna go ahead. Well, for some reason, men really like when you buy them socks. So like buy the socks, but also have sex with your husband and make him dinner. Just do all three. Do all three. But my goodness, yeah, I think that we happen to be the more selfish.
All right, so what you just saw in that video was that lady, Real Femme Sapien, which I think she has an amazing channel. She's one of the few ladies who are out there really beating the drum hard for femininity, biblical femininity, by the way, and biblical masculinity. And I really appreciate the things that she brings to the table and the things that she shares. I think she kind of hits it from a female perspective in the sense that if I were to counsel a couple, my primary focus is going to be on addressing the man. And if I were to speak, I think that both of the sexes have to be dealt with individually. If we're going to counsel, it has to be done on an individual level, meaning we can't point the finger at the opposite sex. So the woman needs to understand what she needs to do, and the man needs to understand what he needs to do, and not focusing on what the other person should be doing. So it's not, let's put it this way. If counseling is going to be done, looking at it from the perspective of source, the horse and the cart, so to speak, it doesn't make sense to deal with the cart. It makes sense to deal with the horse. So what I'm going to say to this video is that masculine energy creates feminine energy, or the masculine embodies the feminine, or it emboldens the feminine, and it empowers the feminine. And I do believe feminine nature in and of itself is a selfless energy. When you look at a woman with a child, like, she gains nothing, maybe some intrinsic, like feeling good about yourself, like you're taking care of an infant, you're feeding it, you're providing for it, maybe some of that. But I would say that feminine energy in and of itself is very selfless. Is very not selfish. Feminine energy seeks the betterment of those around. When you look at teachers, nurses, things that women traditionally are involved in the world, you can see that they're giving to a cause outside of themselves. And so when she says that women are the more selfish of the two, I don't know that I agree with that. And I think that that's kind of the red pill mentality, is we look at women as the problem, when really what it comes down to is, when we boil all things down, it all comes back to a man somewhere. The buck stops with the man. So when we look at female issues in marriage and in dating and whatnot, when we look at the sexes, I know a lot of people tend to look at the women as the problem, and they call it like modern women. You look at Kevin Samuels, a lot of these people, they talk about how modern women are the problem. Modern women, and even this Allie girl in here, great channel, love what she's putting out. I think it's great that she's addressing women and the issues that they have. And I think that's great, because I do think women need to be accountable. However, at the end of the day, if we want to go farther, if the old saying that, crap rolls downhill, we need to go to the top. We need to go to the top of the mountain to find out where the problem is, so that we can address the problems down the mountain. So we already know Christ isn't the problem, so there's no issues there. But with the man and the woman, we know that the man, if he is not fully in line with Christ, that those problems are going to roll downhill. So from what I've witnessed personally, the more masculine that I am, being in my masculine energy, being a strong leader, being correcting, instructing, reproving my wife brings about a feminine nature, a feminine energy that is very selfless. My wife does not like me. Like, I'll go to make my coffee and she's like, sweetie, no, I don't want you making your coffee. I want to get it for you. If I have one of my children make me a drink, she wants to be the one to take care of me. Okay. So I don't, and my wife, like, she's amazing. She's amazing. She lays her life down for me. She will give and give and give of herself. Now, it wasn't always that way, but I believe that masculine energy, in a way, is kind of selfish. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it. Masculine energy is me as the man. Like, I have to be about my purpose, my vision, my goals in life. I have to be about those things because I was given the charge to protect, provide, instruct, correct, reprove. That's my job. And to some degree, I have to be able to disconnect myself from my environment to see that those goals are achieved. I have to be able to separate myself from those things. A man is built to be self-sufficient. It's just the way we're made. We're made to be self-sufficient creatures. We can go off to war. We can go out in the field to hunt, kill, whatever we have to do. And we can be separated from our wife and our children. We can be separated from our comforts and whatnot. And we will survive. We are geared for grit. We are geared for affliction. That's why men afflict their bodies. We're built for this stuff. And so when she talks about selfishness in marriage, I'm going to step out on a limb here and I'm going to push back on what she's saying, only because I've seen the change in people's lives around me, that when a man comes into his masculine energy, when a man is operating according to the masculine energy that is literally hardwired into him, he has to be taught contrary. He has to be shown contrary, and he has to be duped into believing something else. But when a man is in his masculine energy, the woman wants to throw herself at her husband. She wants to give of herself, sex, food, drink, whatever is pleasing to her husband. She wants to please her husband. She's looking for qualification. She's looking for validation from her husband. She wants to know she's doing a good job. She wants to know that she's loving and caring for him. In the same way that a man should be looking to the Most High and saying, am I doing right? Am I serving you? Because I believe that the man in our masculine energy, we play the feminine role with the Most High, with Christ. And we're constantly seeking his validation. We're constantly seeking, am I doing right in leading my home? Am I doing right in the business that I'm doing? Am I doing right in how I conduct myself with people? So we have to remember that energy can only be accurately projected when the masculine energy is present. So a woman can be very masculine. They can be very selfish. They can be very me-oriented. Because the truth be told, it's all about Christ. And then Christ is like, hey, it's all about the Father, okay? And I'm not going to get into the schematics of the diagram of who Christ is. That's not why I'm showing this video. I'm simply trying to show that pure masculine energy, a husband correcting, instructing, and reproving his wife. Now, it doesn't mean, lashing her, spanking her, any of that. That's craziness. What it is when a man brings accountability to his home, first by bringing accountability to himself, because we realize the buck stops here, that when there's failure in my home, it's because I have failed my family in some way. Okay? I have failed my family in some way. So once I understand this, then I can address me. Then I have the ability to address my wife and correct, instruct, and reprove her, because Christ is doing it in me, and it's my job to do that in my wife. Love your wife as Christ loved the church. It's not about sitting and eating cookies together on the couch, holding hands and watching movies and going on dates. That's a part of what we do as men and as husbands, but that's not how Christ loved the church. Christ came to set straight what was crooked. And when we get married and we purchase our wives, we take positive ownership of our wives. We take this ownership of them. We purchase them. The true ownership is about that becoming one with that. That ownership is now possessing a woman to the degree she becomes a part of you. That's why it says a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one. She becomes a part of him, and he takes ownership of that. Look, if my stomach tries to control how I eat, when I eat, and all that, I got to tell I have to put my body in check. I have to make sure that nothing about me, my mind, my eyes, my nose, my ears, my mouth, nothing is controlling me. That the word of God, the fear of God, again, the mountain, takes precedent over everything. That me pleasing God is the most important thing in my walk. Making sure that I'm operating according to that. Well, the same thing is true for a woman. It says in Ephesians, 5:33, it says, wives, fear your husband. He's at the top of her mountain. She should be going throughout the day, is the way that I'm instructing, correcting, and reproving my children in line with my husband's character? Is the way that I'm cooking in line with my husband's character? Is the way that I'm dressing in line with my husband's character? Is the way that I'm speaking to people in line with my husband's character? Is the way that I conduct business in the home, like whether that's making money or whatever, is that in line with my husband's character? Again, the Proverbs 31 woman, she's doing everything according to her husband's character. That's why she's a crown to her husband's head. She's positioned herself on the head of her husband. Okay, like in other words, she's a crown. She's positioned herself in such a manner. Just as we, with our head, we want to make sure that we position ourselves in the same manner, that everything that we do, our business, the way we speak to our children, the way we conduct ourselves in business, everything revolves around our Father's character, Christ's character. We're in line with his character. So by essence, if Christ is doing the will of the Father and we're doing the will of Christ and our wives are doing the will of us, everybody's falling in line with the Father. Okay, so women naturally respond in a manner that is selfless when the man is in his masculine frame. And yes, men tend to be more selfish. We're disagreeable. When I say selfish, we're very giving, and we're very willing to help people. We'll even lay down our lives for people. We're amazing creatures. We've been wired this way. I mean, you look at a rooster too. I find it amazing that they will die for the chickens in the chicken coop. They will die for those chickens to protect them. And a man will do the same thing. When I say selfish, a man is more about his purpose and his goals, and that he should be, and about hitting the mark that Christ has set out for him. And therefore, the woman has that subservient nature in the feminine. She's more likely to give of her selflessly to see that her husband is cared for and her children are cared for. But the key to this is the masculine energy has to be there. I think that to go and tell a woman, you need to submit, you need to be more selfless in your relationship, I think is kind of like addressing, like if my children are unruly, disrespectful, and they're not listening to their father or mother, for a therapist to come along and say, you need to submit to your parents, it really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. Because what am I doing as a parent to command that respect? Am I disciplining my children? Am I correcting them? Am I reproving them? If I'm not doing that, I'm the horse. I'm the problem. You can't address the cart without addressing the horse. So I'm glad that she's out there telling women this. It's definitely something that is good to talk about. But I think let's go further uphill with this, and let's address the men. if men are operating in the masculine energy and they're doing the things that they should be doing, I believe that the feminine nature is to submit. A man kind of has to bring that about. A man has to bring that energy into the relationship so that she can submit, so that she can feel safe submitting. The man has to kind of prove that. And I know a lot of people will say, well, the Bible doesn't say if a man. I get that. But wives fear, wives respect your husbands. A man has to demonstrate his aptitude, or demonstrate his abilities. That's what brings, just like Christ demonstrates his abilities with us as men. I have no doubt in my mind, he is powerful, very powerful. But it has to be demonstrated. And so men need to bring that into their home so that the wife can be selfless. If your wife is selfish, it's because she's operating in a masculine energy. My wife will give of herself sexually, emotionally, physically, spiritually. She loves to take care of her husband. And I think it's just an absolute joy to her to serve me, and the same way that it's a joy for us to serve the Most High. So, but that energy has to be brought into the home. So love her videos, love her channel. I think she's doing a lot of great things. I'm just going to take it one step further and say, hey, let's go farther up the hill and deal with the problem. The horse has to be dealt with. The cart can be dealt with, but I think that for me, from the perspective of a man, let's address us, guys. Let's look at us. What do we need to be doing to give our wife, to make it easy for her to submit, to make it easy for her to be selfless, is to provide the environment, the containment in our marriage to make her feel safe to be selfless. Because I think they act selfish when they feel scared, when they feel like their needs aren't going to be met, when they feel like there's no boundaries. I do think they're more selfish. But when we provide containment, kind of like what the law does for us and what the word does for us, it provides containment to make them feel safe to be able to be selfless. And that is drawing out, the masculine draws out the true feminine nature. So hope this finds you well, and that you enjoy this little take. It's a little devotional, but I love the stuff that's coming out from the female communities. Lots of good stuff. Just want to build upon that and share how we as men can do a better job of bringing our wives' feminine energy out. So shalom. Have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you next time.